Hi y'all, feel free to get in here. I'm recording this for YouTube, so I'm just gonna get started. This is being made in response to a comment I received on my TikTok, as well as a longer comment I received on my YouTube. This is kind of a twofold answer to both of the beautiful ladies asking. So one of them asked, what is the reason behind men wanting you to be their peace? And another woman asked why she has so much trouble dating as a successful woman. And so this live/video is going to attempt to answer both of those questions because I think they have the same exact answer. So the real reason that men want you to be their peace is because men do not like being challenged, specifically by women. And the reason that you should never be any man's peace is because the men that want somebody to be their peace are the men that are on the path of least resistance. They do not want challenge. I think that women naturally challenge men. And so what I really don't like is when we're vocal about it too. Does that make sense? Sometimes women just asking a question, can feel like a big push to a man or like a big challenge to a man, because men live in a very hierarchical mental space. For those of you that are familiar with my content, you already know this, but the patriarchy pyramid is actually, overlaid. It is like a true pyramid, right? It's not a 2D pyramid. It's got different sides to it. And as you turn it, you realize it's all the same pyramid, but it has to have all the sides in order to stay up. So one side of it is white supremacy, one side of it is misogyny, then there's capitalism, exploitation, etc. Because men's view of the world is informed by this pyramid, they tend to view at the very top of it other men, and those men will typically be cis, white, and rich. Down below that, there will be other men that they respect for other and different reasons. And it'll be athletic men, which also tend to be rich, but sometimes they'll just meet a guy out in the wild, at the gym or something, and they'll be real impressed with him. Then there's men who have talent, etc. And somewhere at the bottom, once they've exhausted all the qualities that they can admire other men for, then we get to women. Now, the gag is all women are on the same level. It doesn't really matter. Men do not have a hierarchy of women at all that they respond to in the same way as they do with men. Oh, also in that, hierarchy, pyramid, whatever, there's also men who can get lots of women. But again, mind you, women are just this blank, they're this monolith to men. It's just one slice of that pyramid. And I think a lot of people would say that homosexual men will be below women, but I don't think so. I think they're still above women in the men's hierarchy. I do think so, for all intents and purposes, okay, for the intents and purposes of answering this question of why men don't like successful women and why men want you to be their peace, you need to understand that men only differentiate between women when they absolutely have to. Okay, Saucy, I have amazing news for you. I am going to interrupt the broadcast for a second. I have a podcast. It's right above me. Please look it up. I got you. The reason that men don't like to be challenged by women particularly is because we represent something to them that is not very valuable. And I'm talking about this is most men. Most men are socialized by the patriarchy to only be able to see the world in this way. This explains basically every single one of their behaviors, and it explains why they view women the way that they view women. It takes a highly evolved man. Most of these men will also be some form of neurodivergent. Now, I'm not saying neurodivergent men are all good. That is, please don't take that away from this. But sometimes neurodivergent men can have a deconstructed view of the world, will allow them to deconstruct the structure, the pyramid of the patriarchy, right? Women see this naturally because it affects us viscerally, and it doesn't benefit us in almost any way, unless we have pretty privilege, which, as you can see, we have an episode out on that on the podcast. So what happens when men go out into the world and they try to sort of make a place for themselves, or they make, they're trying to work on their quote unquote legacy or whatever, they only want a woman in order to fuel their journey. So they don't and when I say that, I really want you to sit with that. They don't want you to help them build. Okay, this is our next podcast episode that's coming out about starter wives and the whole concept of build a man up and he will leave. That's coming out on Monday. Men do not want you to build with them. If you actually build with a man, if you invest your money, your resources, your finances into a man, the only thing he's going to do with that is take that and leave. Okay, he is not going to like for you to be the reminder of his hard times, all that, etc. If you want to, talk more about that episode is coming out for our VIPs, I think later today, but it will be out on all podcast platforms out on Monday. The other option that men want is someone to quote unquote be their peace. Now, a woman who is a man's peace means that she never questions him. And this is because men have a lot of entitlement. The way that they are raised, once again, according to this pyramid structure, one of their entitlements is I get the last word. The reason that men have that entitlement is because they work their way through life using anger and violence. This is, again, most men. I'm not saying this is all men. I grew up with a dad that wasn't like this, and I'll talk about him later in this video. But there are reasons why, on a base level, men saying that they want women to be their peace, that's going to be incompatible with women. And I don't say that, say anything negative about women. I think that men who want a woman to be their peace are boring. And once again, they're on the path of least resistance, and they're probably leading themselves and you off of a cliff. And so what's going to happen when you are with a man who wants you to quote unquote be his peace is that he still wants you to help him build. He just doesn't want you to say anything about it. To me, it says they want you to let them hurt you, but say nothing about it. This is basically the secular version of a submissive wife, right? This is men just kind of saying the quiet part out loud about the patriarchy, and also gaslighting women at the same time by reframing it as, I want you to be my peace. They basically are saying the exact same thing as a oppressive religious man. They say, I want a submissive wife. This is what that phrase means. And basically, anyone who's ever been or met a submissive wife knows that it is probably one of the hardest jobs in the world, right? Because you have to do everything that is expected of a woman. You also have to be a lot of the time you have to be in your masculine, the energy that we for some reason associate with men, which is the getting shit done energy. Because what you can't do when you are somebody's peace, right, is expect them to do anything or come through on their promises. You can't be a nagging wife. You can't be a nagging girlfriend. This is just another one of those power plays where men want to essentially be able to do whatever they want while you have absolutely no say in it. So this is actually the same reason that they have trouble dealing with successful women. Okay, basically what this all comes down to is that according to the pyramid, right, that men are raised with, this is what's ingrained in their minds. According to that pyramid, all women are below all men, right? In general, it's exceptions, right? And basically what that means is that they want you to dim your light anytime that they feel, because here's the thing, women, this is not true. The pyramid is not true. There's a reason why the world is in such disarray. The more that we keep trying to stick to and re-implement this system all over the place, because this isn't true. It's cognitively and spiritually, frankly, I'm not gonna get woo-woo in this live, but spiritually, this is very dissonant. Men know, women, I need you to understand that men fucking know that they are not better than us. They know this deep in their dicks, and I'm telling you, they really do. They know. It's not that they really think this. It's that they understand this. They need to think this in order to live another day because they're deeply insecure. And here's where I am going to get a little bit woo-woo. Women are the source. If we're talking about real nature and if we're talking about real alphas, women have always been the real alpha. That they're the alpha in every species. And it's a very simple explanation as to why. Alpha means beginning. The only people on this earth that can give beginnings are women. The only thing that men provide, for the most part, to women and to other men are endings. So by default, women are the alphas and men are the omegas. They are far down on the food chain. And nature agrees with this. I talk about this all the time in my lives and like the men get real pissed off. It doesn't matter. Facts do not care about your feelings, okay? The reason that men experience more cognitive decline, like y'all are not even meant to make it to an old age. According to nature, by the way. Men experience cognitive decline in their old age because of the Y chromosome. The X chromosome actually like resets something or something like that, or like makes it easier for women to like keep their shit together because we're valuable. And you know what? We're even valuable. And even like the myth that men have tried to convince us of that we're only valuable during like our childbearing years, nature disagrees. Nature disagrees. She thinks we're valuable post-menopause, and she thinks that we're more valuable than men because she gave us the more valuable chromosome. Just gonna throw that out there. So what happens is that men, the reason that they need to convince themselves of this is because it affects their survival. You'll notice that in other species where women are rightfully placed at the head, the males will be disposable. In like bee colonies, ant colonies, there's a queen and everybody else, and it's mostly male ants or bees or whatever that are the worker bees, and they're extremely disposable, extremely expendable. So what men need to do in order to sort of justify their survival is they need to sort themselves into these categories. That's why they invented this like pyramid structure. That's why they continue inventing and reinventing hierarchies. That's why they continue coming after our rights. They wouldn't need to, listen, they really need to come after our rights if we were by nature weaker than them, like really weaker than them, really more disposable than them, really like useless or whatever? Fuck no, they wouldn't. So this is why they stay coming after us and nipping at our heels, because that's what betas or omegas rather do to alpha. They stay nipping at our heels. And still, women survive in amazing numbers. Like no matter, even with the fact that there's a femicide every 5 days just in the US. Women are unalived all over the world in incredibly high numbers, etc., etc. Like women are oppressed everywhere. We're basically living in unlivable conditions almost everywhere. Like it doesn't matter where you live, you're never safe. Like you're never ever safe as a woman. It doesn't matter if you're like going hiking by yourself, going outside at night by yourself, you're never safe. And yet we survive, and yet we persist, and yet we continue to be better. And oh my God, now women have more money than men, and now women are buying and owning more houses than men, and women are higher up in the career fields than men, and more women have jobs than men. And oh my God, women are providers now. And it's like they see it. You know, the moment our shackles are off, we start, outpacing them, right? Because we're the real alpha, the stronger one, like by nature. They hate that. And so the reason that they want you to be their piece, coming back, let's wrap this up. The reason that they want you to be their piece is because they fucking hate knowing that you're better than them. And they know that you're better than them. And they know that you have the ability to challenge them into feeling inadequate and insecure about themselves. Naturally, the question would be like, well, if men are alphas, they would be able to take a little criticism, right? And turn it into improvement and prove us all wrong, right? No, they're not alphas. They're betas. That's why the thing that they did in response to women raising their standards is go cry about it on the internet and vote against our rights. And once again, try to dim our light. The only people that need you to dim your light in order to be on their level are people who will never be on your level to begin with and know it. And they know, right? They know that ultimately You know, if the laws were off, if the bets were off, like the reason we even need laws is to control men. We don't need, women commit less than 10% of all, like, especially violent crime. Women do not commit crime. We should, but I can't talk about that on the live. But I think eventually, you know, if you can't beat them, join them. You know what I mean? Like, eventually we're going to have to level out the violence statistics or something. I don't know, because I don't know how to deal with these motherfuckers anymore. I don't. If y'all have better ideas. We've tried it the nice way for centuries. For centuries, we've tried cooperating or whatever. And the only thing we get is our rights taken away. Our rights that belong to us. Like men are literally going against humanity herself to dim our light. That's how powerful we are. Remember this. This is what they hate to know. And this is why they hate dealing with successful women, because they realize that it was harder for you to succeed and you still did it. Think about that. They realize that the world is set up for them in every way. They know how they treat women at work. They know how their superiors treat women at work. They know, they've seen idiot men get promoted over women time after time at work. They know that the system is set up to benefit them in every single way. And yet they can't handle a successful woman, because they know that if she can succeed, then they should have succeeded more. And that fucking really, they hate that. When a man says, be my peace, that means he thinks he's arrived. And when you exist like next to him as a woman in your full presence, it's offensive to them. And so exactly, Sarah, he wants you to regulate his feelings and choices. I've used this analogy before, that it's kind of like if you're playing Monopoly with your toddler, right? You know, like by the end of the game, like you're going to try to explain the game to them. You're going to try to play fair with them. But what they want is like like what they're seeing is like the pieces, and they're seeing like the money, and they just want to have that stuff. They don't want to know like how to play the game. They don't want to know like what to do with, you know, like how to like get there fairly. They want to play with like the stuff. And that's exactly like how a man says, I want you to be my peace. He just wants you to give him all the benefit of like living with a woman with none of the challenges, right? So he wants to come home to a clean house, dinner cooked, kids in bed, you know, you and your lingerie, a candlelit dinner, whatever. That's what they're thinking of when they say, I want you to be my peace. You know, they want a woman as like a decoration, as like a comfort in her most performative, most unhuman-like form. Even like some of the, you know, trad wives that sort of espouse this, and they're like, listen, ladies, if you're like nagging your man, he's never gonna da-da-da-da. He'll do anything for a woman that doesn't nag him, like da-da-da. No, he won't. That's the fucking point. He doesn't have the same responsibilities with her. And that's why he wants her. Because he doesn't want to be questioned. He doesn't want to be challenged. He doesn't want to bring anything to the table. Valeria, I will speak on that. But the answer is the same. Valeria says, my ex asked what I brought to the table. Can you speak on that? It's another way for them to try to dim your light. The men know damn fucking well what women bring to the table. They ask that question to make you question yourself, to dim your light. They want to hide you under a bushel. So whenever I listen to like trad wives or, you know, these be his peace ladies, describing like what it looks like for them to be a good wife, and they're like, yeah, so when my man comes home, I have this on the table and I have this on the stove and my hair looks like this and I'm wearing a lingerie and I ask him about his day and like da da da. But it sounds to me like the way that these women describe being a man's peace, it just involves you really stripping yourself of what is like the parts of you that are human woman. Like you're basically supposed to be a 10-in-1 appliance before he comes home, so that he can, you know, come home to every, you know, clean room, all the kids babysat, you know, whatever, dinner's cooked, da da da. And then you're supposed to turn into basically one of those AI robot girlfriends that only talks about the stuff he wants to talk about. That's like, oh, you know, good job, baby. You made like some really good big decisions today. Like, oh my gosh, I could never do what you do. Meanwhile, your man could not trade places with you for a day, especially if you're raising kids. He could never do what you do. Never forget that. Your man could never trade places with you unless he's a good, evolved man. And so these women will say it's not about speaking up for what you need, aka nagging. It's about how you say it. All of that language does not apply to somebody who's really an alpha and somebody who deserves to have a woman be their piece. If we really want to go there, and say that men are like these perfect leaders and that, what is that Parks and Rec quote? Men are masters and we must obey them. Even if we really want to go there, prove it. Fucking prove it. Show me one man who is capable of like having a woman just rest in her feminine, if we really want to go there. Y'all know I don't believe in masculine, feminine. I believe everybody has both. I believe that's the solution. I believe that, like, if I'm being honest, I believe like trans people are the future. We don't have to get into that, but I think the gender binary is a bunch of bullshit. But if we really want to go there and say that women want to rest in their feminine while their man is in their masculine, show me one woman who can do that. Go off, please. And the problem with, it's not about the tone, it's how you say it, it is about the tone, whatever. If it's about the tone, then that person is not meant to be a leader. If your tone affects the way that your man perceives what you're saying, then he is not fit to be a leader. Because a mother can listen to a child throw a tantrum, completely incoherent, completely illegible, whatever, and that doesn't affect how she treats that child. Most fathers cannot do this. I've never seen my dad mad because my dad never relied on his anger to like run and control our family. So you understand, when men are projecting about this, right? And I shouldn't even say like when men are talking about this like ever again, because men speak in projections. A few good men will confirm this. Men speak in projections every single time. So when men project about they want you to be their piece, what they really mean is, I can only speak in anger. So therefore I need you to extremely offset that by being my piece. They speak in these opposites. They speak in these projections. And what my dad never did was use his anger to ever run our household. And the way that he did that was by channeling his emotions into the proper place. So instead of saying, I'm angry, my dad would be like, I'm sad, or I'm heartbroken, or I'm disappointed, or I'm tired, or I'm just a little bit irritated. And that taught me to regulate my own emotions, right? Liv, I'm sorry your comment was blocked. Liv says your father sounds like such a wonderful person. He is. What I'm saying is that a lot of men don't have that spectrum, right? So when you're dealing with an evolved man like my father, what he's going to do is he's not going to channel all of the emotions and all the feelings and all the tensions that he feels into the anger bucket. And the reason that he doesn't do that is because he doesn't view the world as a pyramid at which the men are on top. The only reason that you would ever use your anger as a cannon, right, is because you believe that men are so powerful and so impactful, right, that their anger is like this weapon of mass destruction. When in reality, men's anger often looks like a toddler throwing a tantrum. It does not look like, it is scary because they have given themselves so much power in our society. But when you really look at it, and you were like, damn, like if this was happening in the woods or something, this would look ridiculous, but this is the reason why men invented like property and like all this, etc., is to like trap women with them, right? The most sure way, the most sure way to dim a woman's light is to just trap her under a bushel. And this is what men are always trying to do. They're like, give you a little bit of romance, and they're like, no, come here, it's safe, and they breadcrumb you, and then they pull the bushel, and it, falls down, and there you are. Now you're trapped. And then they're like, oh yeah, you got to be my piece. Because here's the thing. Even if you do trap a woman and like, say like you realize like as a man, you've trapped a woman and you're living with her and you're just doing your best to beat her into the ground. You know what I mean? You're doing your best. And guess what? You can't. You can't. Like, they literally have to unalive us. Unalive us because they can't control us. Yeah, they first started doing it to animals. This is why I don't eat meat. I've always felt it was wrong ever since I was a kid. Never cared for the taste or the texture. It smells like dead flesh to me. Don't like it. If y'all want to get really woo-woo with it, we can, maybe on a different live. But basically, if you really wanted to ruin an entire human race, all you'd have to ever do is introduce them to a hierarchy. And they would probably never recover from that. And I think we're watching that happen in real life. The only way to undo this is to radically root out, eradicate every form of hierarchy that we have, because they overlap on top of each other in order to create this structure that cannot be easily toppled. You know, you can't topple a pyramid because it's made up of like all these different sides. Yes, hierarchies are artificial. Nature does not really work like that. Nature is circular and sustainable. Octavia Butler is a genius. Yeah, absolutely. Black women have been saying this for so long. Like, I don't understand. Like, the white people in this country suffer because it makes other people suffer worse. Like, I don't understand. As an immigrant, I don't get it. I would get it if I grew up here, though. Here's the thing. If I grew up here, I would be the same, you know, white woman as everybody else. Because y'all are not taught your own history. Lagoa. You're on the same shit that I'm on. All right, let me try and catch up on some comments. I didn't know it just deletes it. Okay, so Public said when he was in here, he said, be his peace equals don't hold him accountable. Exactly. Men don't want to be held accountable. They don't want to be challenged. Once again, specifically by women, because to them, women are supposed to represent everything that men are not in society. To them, women represent this like weaker, intentionally crippled class. And so to have a woman challenge them, it offends them. And at the same time, they also know that you're right. They always know that you're right. They know that by the rules of logic. And here's the thing. Women are the source. Women always have been the source. This is why men are like, oh, she was my muse and everything. No, bitch, you just stole her ideas. She was not your muse. She was the source of your ideas. And you just didn't give her the right to speak. You didn't teach her how to write. Mind you, women have been uneducated for so long for the same reason, because men want us to be their piece on a general level. The reason that men have been taking away our rights and everything is because they want us to be their piece on a grand scale. They want us to be their piece as in we are never their boss at work. They want us to be their piece and as in we never pull up in a car nicer than theirs. Okay. They want us to be their piece because we should never own a house while a man lives in an apartment or in his mother's basement, because that would challenge the structure that benefits them. And and it messes with them also psychologically. But because they feel so entitled to the structure and they receive so many benefits from the structure, they can feel it like in their bones that somebody is breathing down their neck. And they realize that not only would the structure crumble if women were to stop being men's piece forcibly, by the way. Women don't even care about men. That's the thing. Couldn't care less about being a man's piece. Women want to go their own way. All right. Once again, when men talk about, you know, red pill and men go their own way, they're projecting once again, because it's women who always go their own way. If men went their own way, women would be happy. Women would be fucking overjoyed. All right. If men went their own way when we're alone out on the trail, that would be fucking wonderful. If men could go their own way when we are in like a supermarket aisle and they're following us around trying to ask for a number or whatever, that would be wonderful. If men would ever go their own way when women say, hey, please leave me alone, that'd be amazing. Here's the fucking problem. Men never go their own way. Even when you try to send them away, you break up with them, whatever, they still come back. Try to break up with a man. He'll come back. Sooner or later, he'll come back. Or his friends will come around asking about you. Or your friends will come around being, oh, hit me up. He misses you. It's happened to me with every single dude. And I didn't even date around that much. They always come back. They never go their own way. You know, who goes their own way is women. Men don't like that. The reason we don't have oppressive rights on men as women is because we don't need them. What do we need you for? Why would we ever need to oppress you? We don't even need to oppress men, right? Because our existence in and of itself renders them so useless. Like, do you know what I mean? That's why they need to always be squashing us. Even though we have rights to work and everything like that, men still get on code with each other. And they're like, we're not going to promote them. They're never going to be the CEO. They're never going to be the president. They're never going to be this and this. Just like Nick Fuentes said. They make this impenetrable wall. There's the glass ceiling, etc., etc. All because they want us to be their piece on a global level. They never want to be surpassed by a single woman. The reason that you're going to find that so many men struggle with, you know, successful women or outspoken women or, yeah, Kamala, for example. Exactly. They're like, you guys weren't supposed to. You weren't supposed to. Be our piece, okay? Okay, and here's what I'm going to say. The only way that men can be great is by stepping on women. I said what I said. Women can be great all by themselves. Women can be great from underneath the power structure, right? The only way a man can be great is by first oppressing women. Yeah, whenever he's winning or losing an argument, he says, I'm yelling to shut me up. Exactly. Why? Because you're right. Because you're right. You don't have to be yelling. They'll say, oh, your tone is disrespectful. Oh, that's not true. They'll just gaslight you. Like, it doesn't matter. They have the mentality of a toddler, of a 3-year-old. And they know that they cannot succeed. Because to them, they measure success in terms of oppression. Like me, I measure success in terms of how many people are successful around me, right? I measure success by, you know, how are my friends doing? Like, how's my family doing? How are the people around me doing? Like, how's the world doing? You know, if I had one wish, I would wish for world peace because that would lift us all up. But men are different. They measure success by how many people they've stepped on, how many people they've overcome. That's why they need like a ladder structure. They're like toddlers throwing temper tantrums, can't regulate emotions. And they need a very simple structure, like a 1, 2, 3 structure to motivate them to get through life. And once again, they also need like a scapegoat. You know, they need somebody to blame for all of their problems, right? This is once again toddler behavior. They attribute things to women that they shouldn't attribute to women. They're like, the male loneliness epidemic is because of women. Who? Are women lonely? No. So then we can't be the cause of your epidemic because we're not lonely. If anything, we have been like the only solution to it for a very long time. The only way that most men even find real human community is in their relationships with women. And they devalue those every single day anyway because they're stupid. Sorry, because they're unevolved. Hemi says they think conquering is winning countries, cultures, women, etc. Exactly, because they're simple. This is a very degenerate, actually, mindset. This is the mindset of somebody who knows that even with everything in the world, they still couldn't outcompete us. And that's what it all comes down to, ladies. I'm so fucking serious. The reason they want you to be their piece, the reason they can't handle your success, the reason they can't handle you challenging them, or even just you nagging them, is because you were not supposed to break the silent contract that we all know exists. And you know, you just accidentally let it show that you're superior. And it sucks and they get mad. And they're like, yeah, but I could unalive you. And it's like, yeah, that's all you have. That's the silent contract, by the way, Luna, is that they can unalive us. And they often do. That's the thing. It's not that silent. It's a very loud contract that we know for a fact exists. They can always unalive us or grape us, or I guess leave us without resources or take our rights away. Like, think about this. This shit gets me so pissed off. Think about how many guardrails men have in place that, God forbid, lest we come in and do something and just exist. Guardrails against us existing, you understand, right? They threaten us, bro code, harassment, groping, assault, rape, DV, all of this stuff, abortion laws, divorce laws, guardrails to protect themselves from us. And by the way, this all transfers, I say this every time, but this all transfers perfectly onto white supremacy, ableism, etc. It transfers perfectly. And once we all understand this, exactly, that's why they hate DEI, because it makes the field more level. Though still not level, that's the important part, is it wasn't even level by the time that they freaked out and were like, get rid of DEI. Why? I think you realize the only reason you had jobs before is because it was exclusive and not inclusive. DEI is a threat to their mediocrity, exactly. And women are a threat to their mediocrity. Women are a threat to men's mediocrity. I think Lagoa, that's a really great way to put it. The reason men want you to be their peace is because your existence is a threat to their mediocrity. So they need you to like perverse yourself into a version of yourself that does not challenge them. And the reason that women so often have a glow up after, exiting these relationships is because that transfers. Like, that means you stop challenging yourself, that means you stop challenging it. You're living in such a dissonant state that when you get out of that, you start to flourish simply because you're no longer dimming your own light so much. Yes, the woman that said marriage has always been DEI for men, that's more true than y'all think. Like, they literally invented romance. What did Don Draper say? Romance was invented to sell you tights or something like that. And it's so offensive how it was reinvented. Okay, let me get into this. Since nobody asked, let me get into this. Romance was reinvented in the form of like Disney films and just romantic culture in general, was after World War II in America. All of these things are important because it like reverberates to Europe, but it didn't start in Europe. So Disney was actually given a contract to produce these types of movies to sort of get it into the mind of the public psyche that the nuclear family is the way to go and that every woman needs a man, every man needs a woman, etc., right? And that was because men were coming back from war and women had jobs. Because when the men left, by the way, whenever men are like, what would you do if all the men were gone tomorrow? Who would work in the factories? Who would work on the oil rigs? Women. It was women. Women would go to work. That's what they did. They did already. They had been doing it before, but they went to work in greater number and nothing changed. And you know what? The economy boomed. And so men really hate that. And so women were like, I don't know, like, I kind of like this having a job thing, whatever. And then the government was like, no. We need to go back and we need to tell them like that they're not, good enough unless they get picked by a man, etc. Now, the most insidious thing they did, in my opinion, and I know a lot of people know this by now, but I grew up reading these stories as they were written, okay? The reason I didn't like Disney princess movies is because I read those stories when I was little. I happened to have the non-edited version in which Snow White was not awoken by a kiss of love. She was raped in her sleep by a strange man who just saw her sleeping there and was like, I'm gonna grape her. And then she got pregnant and she gave birth. But he effed her because he thought she was dead. And there's a reason why we say male attention is not valuable. It is not valuable. These men will come across a corpse in the woods and stick it in. So she then had children while sleeping, and then she woke up and like the children were like old or whatever. The Little Mermaid, she actually gave up her voice, and then the prince left her for somebody that could speak. Like, he just one day like woke up and found another wife, and she was so sad that she walked into the ocean, and that part of the curse happened. She turned into sea foam. That's so real. It is real. This is the one time that men tried to tell us the truth. Yeah, Rapunzel was impregnated and abandoned. Absolutely. But they were telling the truth. Yeah, exactly. Little Red Riding Hood, if you want to like see a historically accurate Little Red Riding Hood, watch Ginger Snaps. It's a horror film, but watch it. That shit's great. Oh, Pocahontas is bad on its own. Even the Disney version's fucking terrible. They what? Like, what the fuck? What was the song called? Okay, so Fit and Faithful. Let me respond to some of these. All right. So Fit and Faithful says, I want her to be my peace so I can advance spiritually. Not an alpha. You need to work on being an alpha before you can be with a woman. Women don't need peace to advance spiritually. And by the way, peace will not help you advance spiritually. The only thing that helps you advance spiritually is adversity. Men are simple. This is what I'm saying. I need a woman to be my peace so I can advance spiritually. To where? Where are you going to advance to spiritually? And yeah, the fact that you need a woman to advance yourself tells me that you are not the alpha in the relationship she is. So if you're okay with that, then go find you an alpha, baby. We're all over the place. I just don't know that she'll want you. James says they will never bring you peace though. Period. Go get that money, boys. I wish you could. I wish you could. Want to advance my ascension? Do it yourself. What you mean? Do it yourself. Here's the thing. If there is even a chance that a woman's not gonna be your peace, like be your own peace. I'm all for that. I'm not here to try and prove to men how valuable women are. Y'all see that on your own. I don't need to explain this to you. That's why y'all are in my life. That's why I'm not on your shit. You're on my shit. That's what I'm saying. Men always need to use women. And that's why they don't like you to be too feisty, you know? It's kind of like a horse. You know what I mean? They want to break you before they just get on top and tell you where to go. And then it somehow is also your fault if y'all go in the wrong direction. That's basically what it comes down to. They want to break your spirit. And then they also want to have a scapegoat. So no matter what, right? They're going to say, be my peace. Then they're going to make one bad decision. You're going to say, okay, I want to be his peace. I'm not going to say anything. Then he makes another bad decision. And you're like, hey, do you want to like sit down and talk about this? Like, whatever. Be my peace, or you be my peace, you're going to nag me. I'm just trying to do what's best for us, Makes another bad decision. You lose more money, etc. Now he's hiding bad decisions from you. Now he's in debt. All because, one, he didn't listen to you. First of all, if you would have been allowed to speak up the first time, and if you would have been allowed to be heard the first time, you as a woman could have probably identified a pattern in there somewhere. Like, you're better primed for survival. Until men realize that all of their adversity on us has made us better, right? Once again, this goes for white people, people of color, translates perfectly. Until you realize that it is the adversity that has made these people better, you're not going to understand why they're better than you. And you're not going to succeed because you're going to be taking advice from yourself. Men confuse oppression with leadership every single day. White men especially. They confuse oppression with leadership. And they don't understand that the two are completely different. Completely different. I don't know if y'all have ever heard the story of Salome, like the whole young, like read book that he like meditated. He discovered some truths about himself and he found some like tropes or whatever he called them. And one of them was Salome. And when he met her, the first thing that she did in his like ego death scenario was that she murdered the old wise man that was sort of the representation of Jung's, I think, belonging to the patriarchy or whatever. And she murdered him. And she herself is like blind and kind of, grotesque looking or whatever, the way that Jung described her. And he was distraught that she did that she committed this atrocity. And as he's crying over the wise old man, she questions him and she says, do you love me? And he goes, no, how could I love you? I hate you. Look what you did, like da-da-da. And she goes, you will love me. That is the closest a woman's ever going to come to being your peace buddy. She's going to destroy your ego. She's gonna destroy your ego. The reason that men want you to be their peace is because they fear for their ego. The reason that women will never be anybody's peace is because we had our ego death at 5 years old and we've been waiting for you motherfuckers to catch up ever since. And you just can't. You can't because you're not challenged that way. And what do you do when you are challenged that way? You weasel out of it and you avoid it at every fucking cost that you can. And it is so frustrating and so pathetic watching y'all do this over and over again simply because you can't come to grips with your own fucking ego being rightfully destroyed the way that it needs to be. I hope this fucking helps somebody out there, because Lord, I am tired. Lagoa says, too much adversity has made me tired though. Exactly. And that's the point, is like, we're tired and we're still better. We've been fighting upstream. We've been swimming upstream for thousands of years. And we're still like, well, damn, gotta get up and do it again tomorrow. Gotta put on makeup first, mind you. Gotta go to the gym first, mind you. Gotta do my hair. Do you see the guardrails? The fucking guardrails. They're in every single place, right? And I'm not saying like, you can do makeup for fun. I think men should do their makeup. I think men should go back to the good old days, because they started the wearing a makeup trend, by the way. But what I'll say is, there's just all of these guardrails where it's like, oh, you go out without makeup, now you're invisible, as a woman, right? You go out dressed in just normal clothes, now you're invisible. And it's like, they literally put these things in place, right? And then when you do it too much, you're a distraction. It's because people that cannot succeed on their own will always blame somebody else. They'll always find a way to place the blame on somebody else. And this is how men treat women. This is why women can never do anything right. It's not because women can never do anything right. It's because men can never do anything right. And they blame us for it. They find new ways to blame us for it every day. It's our fault that the male loneliness epidemic. It's our fault that the child rates are dropping. It's our fault that, men are not going to college anymore. It's our fault that men are pew-pewing up the schools. It's our fault that AI girlfriends are a thing. It's our fault. No matter what, it's our fault. It's our own fault when men assault us and grape us and attack us. Like, the guardrails to exist as a woman are endless. Endless. I'm telling you, you can't go outside without men trying to dim your light. Why? Because you threaten them. Because you threaten them. And you know what? I'll say this. I'm tired after every single time I work out, but I got muscles to show for it. I got strength to show for it. I can do a handstand. I could do a headstand. I can do a lot of things. But I'm tired a lot. Yeah, because I work out. You are a stronger organism. Being tired is a small price to pay for being so fucking excellent as we are as women. Being tired is a small fucking price to pay if you're gonna get to be a woman on this earth. I'm sorry. Even with all the oppression in the world, I would never want to be a man. I would never want to experience even one day of that pathetic, shrimpy ass existence that most of them live. I don't. What kind of guy would I be? Same as all of them. I'm telling you, the brainwashing works. It works on women. The reason we have pick me male-centered women is because the propaganda works. You need to understand this. You need to understand this deeply. It's not being born a male. Being born a male has its disadvantages or whatever, right? But it wouldn't be as big of a problem if we didn't have this type of conditioning to go with it. If men knew their place, because once again, they're always saying this to women, right? Women need to know their place. Men need to know their place. You know why men need to know their place? Because look the fuck around. What the fuck are we dealing with? What the fuck are we dealing with? Oh, men run the world. What would you women do? Do you know how fucking much better off the world would be? It's actually kind of fucking crazy to think about, because women would never send their own children to war over land. They would just figure it out. Women always do. Women always do. But yeah, the conditioning goes really, really, really deep, to the point that we even have male-centered women. So imagine how well that shit works on men who don't even have the adversity, to struggle against that women do. Soft Tank says, I want to form a family still, a dream of mine. How to identify a good companion? A family is a woman and her children. I've made videos about this. The only thing that men are going to ever do is destroy your family. They're not people to build a family with. They are to be, at best, used for the material to make children. That's why they get just the easy part. Nature didn't give them any of the difficult part. I'm going to let you guess why. Because see, they come in here and they're like, why do you hate men? I don't hate men. I'm telling women the truth about men. And the reason that nature knew not to give y'all any part of the actual childbearing or birthing process is because y'all would fuck it up. A loving relationship is bad and kids don't need a father. That's what you're saying. Is that what I'm saying? Men are saying that. You see what I mean? They speak in projection. A loving relationship is bad and kids don't need a father. Who the fuck really thinks that in our society, according to the fucking reality? Sir, answer me. Who thinks that in our society? Which one of the people, which one of the genders fucking thinks that if we were to look at the fucking fact? Quicker. Idiots, bro. I swear to God. And no, you don't need a father. You don't need a father. That's what I'm fucking saying. I had a father. He was awesome. He was great. But he didn't come into my life until I was, 10 years old. My mom met him when I was like 10. And so no, I had the best of both worlds. I was both raised by a powerful single mom who had a badass job, went on business trips, even though we lived in a poverty-stricken country, etc., etc. And then she married an amazing man. Exactly. A good dad is a luxury. I was very lucky. And I'm so sorry if I ever sound like I'm bragging about that. I'm really not. It's just I know how much men hate that and it makes me happy. So I'm sorry. Do you think men need fathers as good role models? Because I feel men need that. Are men good role models? I'm going to start answering your questions with questions. Are men on a large scale good role models? The people that commit over 90% of all violent crime, those are good role models. Like most men, someone says my kid's dad is ruining our life. This is what I'm saying. You don't need a man to start a family. The only thing a man is ever going to do is ruin your family and is going to give your kids confusion about, men. I'm so serious. Please don't do it. You'll be okay. And I know some women aren't okay and that sucks. And I promise you that's still because of men. What if your mother is a criminal and the man is a loving father with a good job? To the 3 people in the entire universe that applies to. Good for you. You have a good father. I don't know. What the fuck? What kind of what if? Exactly. What if? Yeah, the people with amazing dads know. You learn to feel it very viscerally when other men are unsafe. Because you're like, my dad wouldn't do that. My dad wouldn't do that. My dad wouldn't do that. And you're immediately like, no. And that's how I have a good husband too. Is because the men I dated, I was like, no. Yeah, someone says, Lasagna Box says my life would have been way easier without my dad. And I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. The reason that men are always bringing jobs and money into this conversation and what do you bring to the table and da-da-da, because that's one of the other things that they invented to try to match up their worth to what women are naturally worth. The reason that they're always bringing money to the table or whatever is because that's what they have to do. That's what they have to do. They had to first hoard those resources away from women, right? Men made the laws that women can't work, women can't have money, can't have a bank account, can't have this, can't have that, can't read, can't do anything, because they need to have that leverage. And the reason that they're always trying to leverage with money is because they need things outside of themselves to bring their worth, to be their worth instead of actual worth. Does that make sense? Leverage manipulation. Yes, exactly. Yeah, I know more women that have been financially abused by a man than vice versa. Absolutely. OAE says, just tell us who hurt you, darling. No one, and you hate that. I'm very lucky. I have not been hurt. It's I'm very averse to the narcissistic way that most men operate because my dad was the opposite. Right? So I don't even let men like that get close to me. I can tell when a man just wants me as an appliance, Even when that man is like, no, I'll treat you like a good appliance, I'll wipe you down and I'll do everything and I'll maintenance and No, I'm not a fucking appliance. I'm a human being. So yeah, my standards are really high because I was raised by a good man. Because nobody hurt me. Yeah, so Pleasantly Amused says, but they're losing that money leverage too because we make more now. That's where them not being able to deal with successful women comes in. Women just get jealous and can't handle an intelligent man. Where's the intelligent man? Was there an intelligent man in here at any point, ladies? Did I miss him? Because, I mean, if you're talking about Public, I love Public. Got no problem with him. That's the only intelligent man I remember being in this chat. Little Scorpio says they want you to be their piece so they can pursue the crazy bee. Absolutely. That's part of it too. When there are very low stakes, right? They want you to be their piece so you can hold down the fort while they go out there and hedge their bet, right? That's another really good sign that a man is not serious about you. He's using you to hedge his bets. And he's using you to give himself a better chance of springboarding into a career opportunity or into another woman or etc. That's a very spot the fuck on little Scorpio. Absolutely. Not that we should be calling other women crazy bees. I don't really blame women for men cheating. Let's just say that. Even if a woman knows you're in a partnership and she's like seducing your man or whatever, I don't fucking care. Your man should be an alpha. Your man should be able to say no. Most women will never know what it's like to date a real alpha because most men can't think past a woman offering them like a peek at her titty or something. Like, it's so weak. It's weak-minded. It's undisciplined. It's unpowerful. It's impulsive. It's giving low impulse control. It's giving like absolute powerlessness. Men will throw away their entire family, their children, you know, the woman that they built everything with, just to look at a woman's titty. I don't want to be an alpha, we can tell, sir. You didn't even need to say it out loud. I promise you, everyone around you can tell. You probably goon off to corn all day. And by the way, everybody can tell. Everybody knows. So you can go right back to your napkin, friend. Men tell themselves, by the way, this is like another fun thing that men tell themselves, like, yeah, I'm not even an alpha, I'm like a sigma, I'm an omega, I'm a fucking da-da-da. It's all bullshit. Once again, they can't succeed on their own merit, right? And so they're like, yeah, you know what, it's not even that great to be an alpha. You know what's better? It's to be like a zero, the number 0. Because it's like not even 1, it comes before number 1. Like, bro, y'all are exhausting. That was never the point. The point that I'm making when I say like women are alpha is not, and this is what like proves to me that like men just can't help but think hierarchically. And I'm just begging y'all to challenge yourself. I'm begging you, because honestly, what it means to be an alpha is just to think for yourself, to be self-sufficient, and y'all cannot be self-sufficient for shit. That's why you need women. That's why y'all always like got us tied down by the fucking ankle. Because every time y'all mess shit up, what do? You look at the women, what are we gonna do now? What are we gonna do now? The fuck you. What are you gonna do? Let us go and figure your shit out on your own. You know what I mean? Ladies, if y'all haven't seen the movie Women Talking, please do yourself a favor. That's where I'm at, and I have a husband. And Lord knows, like, he would understand. If I had to leave him behind, he would understand. He'd be like, damn it, stuck here with these fucking men. We've talked about this. He was like, I'll stay. So, yeah, it is a great movie. And again, the good men will get it. But a lot of men, like, would not be able to sit through that movie. Moonstone says, how come they need to make us artificially need them? Because they absolutely need us as a resource. Yeah, and that goes kind of both ways. They also make artificial us now, you know what I mean? The AI girlfriends, like if they can't get us, they will literally go as far as to try and replicate us. Like it's amazing. It's like, make more men. Why don't you make more men robots? No. That's how bad. Like, we live rent free, ladies. I'm telling you. Rent free. That's why they're always in these lives trying to argue with me. That's why they're always in our comments, like when we're talking to each other, you know? They're always coming up and they're like, no. That's how insecure they are. They're always like, oh, you're talking about me? Only insecure people act like that. My ex kept talking about being strong-minded while also bowing down to his male friends. Yeah, that's because that's how they differentiate, right? This is why a lot of men, this kind of goes hand in hand with be my peace, right? The only people that are allowed to challenge men's opinion are other men. The only people that are allowed to influence their views are other men. The only people that they will actually bow down to, as according to the hierarchy, are other men. I've asked this question before, but in a group of men, who is the alpha? Who is the alpha? You often, first of all, can't tell them apart. You can't tell the lot apart. Either they will all be wearing like the same type of jean or the same type of flannel or the same type of, you know, overall aesthetic, right? And that was set by one man in the group. And the rest of them are just like following along. That's just how it works. If the alpha goes to the gym, they all go to the gym. If the alpha rides a bike, well, now they're a biker gang. You know what I mean? If the alpha plays golf, now they all play golf. Amazing. Amazing how that works. In the comments, sorry. Yeah, a lot of guys do have herd mentality. That's, once again, that's why they want you to be their piece. They don't want to be challenged because the herd mentality is often wrong. If you're neurodivergent or if you're a woman, you know this. The herd mentality is more often than not wrong. You gotta zig when everybody zags, right? And women get that and men don't. Yeah, in the group, they always have a leader. It's only one alpha in every male group. That's what I'm saying. In a women's group, that's not really how it works. Unless the woman group is male-centered. That's important. If you find yourself in a women's group where there's a clear alpha, that woman's group is male-centered. These are male-centered women. Run in the other direction, please. JB says, how do we know when we have officially decentered men completely? That's a great question. I think we know right now because they're floundering. When they start saying shit like your body, my choice, that's when they start actually threatening you. Honestly, like for all this talk of like how women center men and all this stuff, I still don't really think women do. I think some women do because it's a necessity, or it's like they figure it's like living life on easy mode or something like that. But if you were to take men's like economic advantage out of the situation, and if you were to provide women with proper resources to take care of their children and stuff like that, yes, I'm married, then I don't think that women would center men. Does that make sense? Like, I actually don't think women have ever centered men. Even the worst women will eventually, most of them, will eventually come to the conclusion that men ain't shit. And that's only because they have been forced to comply with the patriarchy for so long that they have like begun to view it as the way, and they have begun to see like, they also see it as like this relinquishing of responsibility when it's not really that. I'll have to work on my articulation of that. I'm sorry. Give me a sec. Gypsy Soul says, are you happily married? Yes, I'm very happily married. I will only be married if I'm happily married. And yeah, almost every older lady I've met has told me to leave men alone. Also, every happily married woman you will ever meet will tell you to leave men alone. Unless she's like young or dumb or something. But like, I swear to God. Then why do you care what men do? What a stupid question. Why do I care what men do since I'm married? You act like I don't share the planet with these idiots. I share the planet with men. I need them to be human beings. I need them to act decent. I need them to stop unaliving us and harming us and graping us. What the fuck do you mean? Why do I care what men do? I care very much what men do. And I always will care what men do. The reason I care about what men do is because I'm about to buy a fucking GAT and I don't want to have to fucking use it. I don't want to do that. I wish men were just decent. Decent. Like, stop threatening us. Stop saying your body, my choice. Stop threatening to grape us in the streets. Stop. That's what I want. Every man I spoke to says stay away from females because they just cheat on you. Take their advice. And I'm dead serious. Yes, we will cheat on you. We will take all of your money. We will take your house. We'll take half your business. We won't let you see your kids. We won't be your peace. We'll nag you. We'll do all of that. Please stay away from us. Like, for real, for real. Please stay away from us. Yeah, even some older men will tell you to leave them alone. Okay, so good question. So, I'm not sure how to pronounce the username. Says, what benefits can we obtain from marriage? Think like a man. What benefits do men obtain from marriage? Think about that. You got career support. lighter load of like adulting, right? You should have a partner. You should have emotional support. You should have financial support, tax break, like more respect because you're married, get a raise because you're married. Like those are the benefits women can obtain from marriage. Importantly though, kind of that you don't have kids for it to work. Because once you have kids, you've benefited that man. Like once you have kids for a man, I guess I should say, like never have kids for a man. Because unless he's willing to properly financially compensate you, but like the number for that, for like, that's a number you have to decide. If you're like, hey, I'll take, you know, the cost of like whatever a surrogate would charge or something like that. And, you know, you put that in my savings account, money market, etc. It's like collecting money. There's money set aside for the kids, etc. Like most, and importantly though too, most men cannot provide you the benefits that you will obtain in a marriage. It takes an evolved man. It takes a smart man. It takes an actually intelligent man to benefit you within a marriage. And that is hard to come by. So you first have to consider that the chase, the search may not be worth the result. You know what I mean? Nothing that you can't obtain for yourself. Let's just say that. I do not project my happily married reality onto other women, right? I'm not going to tell y'all, well, you just got to look for a guy like this. No. Men lie, men cheat, men pretend, men hide, and men are insidious, etc. Okay? I know that's confusing to hear from somebody who's married. You also shouldn't seek marriage until you have truly decentered men in marriage to the point where it wouldn't matter to you if you were married or not. So like a lot of women come on my page and they say things like, well, what if your husband's one of those guys? And what if your husband cheats on you? What if y'all get divorced? What if he's just a blah, blah, blah? And I know that they're not ready to be married. Does that make sense? Because what if? Like, what if I have everything I need to move on like nothing ever happened? Will I have some feelings about that? Yeah. You invest that risk every time you enter into any kind of partnership with anybody, right? A friendship can always go bad. A lot of friendships do go bad, right? It would be like that. We're friends first and foremost. So if he ever broke my trust or whatever, like, it'd be simple. The scenario that a lot of women I fear are picturing is that my husband came home one day and was like, look, we're gonna get a divorce, like you're old and haggard or whatever. I don't know like what his reason would be, but come home, you're not my piece, okay? I'm divorcing you. A lot of women picture me falling to my knees. But I did this for you and I invested in you and I built with you and no, I didn't. By the way, all of that being his decision. Most of the money spent in this marriage has been spent on me, my ventures, my investments, things I wanted to do, things I wanted to invest money in. So yeah, if he decided to leave me, that would not be to my detriment. And so you need to marry a man at the point that you're ready to think like that. At the point that you understand that you're the valuable one in the relationship. And at the point, more importantly, that he understands that. And my husband understands that. And again, people go through that on their own all the time. My life would not end. Ruby says, honestly, at this point, I think I should try dating women. Maybe I don't like men. I think if you have that option in your mind, I think you should. I think you should. I think there's something there. That's never been an option for me because unfortunately I am straight, like schmexually. And so I'm closer to asexual than I am to lay dollar bean. But listen, if you got that option, absolutely. Women are so much more like emotionally interesting. Like at least it'll be interesting, you know? I understand that women can still hurt you within a romantic context. I think women can probably hurt you worse, but at least it'll be fun. At least it'll be juicy. You know what I mean? Okay, but if we really believe all men are somewhat heartless pigs, why would we marry? Don't marry. Like, that's my advice, is don't marry. Unless you have every safe option to get out. Like, never marry a man and where you can't get out. How did you get married young? when you knew the risk. Like, divorce was always on the table for me. Like, people act like marriage is a fucking, like, prison sentence. It's not. I don't believe in that whole, we stayed together because nobody left. That's stupid. That's stupid. Well, listen, again, men used to force us to do this. Men used to force us into this reality that you can't leave. You were married for 60 years because you couldn't leave. You didn't have the right to divorce. We are briefly, in our history right now, we are briefly past that point. So divorce has always been on the table for me. Keep in mind that, like, a lot of men, the reason that you take a risk getting married in the first place is because that's when a lot of men switch up. You know, you take a risk when you get pregnant by a man, because that's when a lot of men switch up. Take a risk moving in with a man. That's why I don't really recommend moving in with a man before you're married, because it doesn't make a fucking difference. Like, you can, and that's fine, but you'll probably be benefiting him more than he benefits you and all that. That's when they switch up. They switch up when you make important life decisions that sort of hinge on their presence, because that's the whole point. They want to trap you. So you have to have a backup plan, right? So for me, because I was really young, it was just like, okay, I'll go back and live at home. I'll go back and live at home, and then I'll just continue my life. And unless you have that type of safety net, like, it's kind of hard for me to be like, yeah, like, get married. You have to have that safety net. And, you know, I would suggest, like, never giving up your job, never, like, taking any gap years, whatever. Like, you just have to, like, think like a man. Think like a man would in a marriage. Men protect themselves very well against the fallout of marriage, and they still get caught off guard by it. But, like, in a lot of ways, like, they just don't cede anything, you know, to a marriage or to a man. Prenup suggestions, I would say, like, money for children. Money for children, money for your services. Gotta get your, like, contributions in writing, right? So if y'all are gonna both work, then he needs to work at home too. If you're gonna work at home, he needs to work at home too. Or there's a stipulation where you can outsource that if he's not meeting his commitments, or if both of y'all just don't want to do it, then you outsource it. Gotta talk about what are the, like, savings gonna look like for the kids. Like, I'm serious. And, like, it comes down to money. Men have been extracting extremely valuable unpaid labor from us for years and years and years. The ability to give life, which is the one thing men cannot manage to do, to figure out how to do, literally or metaphorically, is what makes us invaluable. And men know this. And this is, once again, why they're always trying to dim our light, hide us under a bushel, etc. But they know this. And they do not want to compensate us for it financially. Because if they were to, they could never afford it. So first of all, if you're ever going to have children, I don't know what to tell you. You need to listen to more Shira 7, because you cannot be having kids with broke men that cannot put a fat lump sum in your bank account in case something happens to them, or in case the children are born with special needs or whatever, right? Money that they can't withhold from you. Those are my prenup suggestions and stipulations. Where's my husband now? At work, babe. Where all the other men should be. Can women have careers and have a man still pay for all their bills? You're looking at her. They can and they do. This is the Slavic mindset. This is what I'm telling you. The one thing, and there's a lot of Slavic pick-me's, like da-da-da-da, okay? But the thing that I was always raised with, that is how valuable it is for a man to have you in his life. That's how valuable it should be. They gotta know your value. In fact, I would say if a man does not pay for all your bills while you have a career, that man does not give a shit about you. Men, keep this in mind. The reason that I don't feel bad saying that, and I'm not advocating for any type of trad wifery, all right? Key word is you have a career and your husband still pays your bills. Men have told us every which way how valuable we are. Women working never, to me, will mean that they should go 50-50. Women have been juiced for 150, 1,050, okay, percent. Women have to make up for the lack that men create. Women have never operated on a 50-50, okay? For men to say 50-50 is insulting. It should be insulting, okay, to all of us. There is no 50-50. Women have never done 50-50. Women never bring 50-50 to the table. Only men know how to do that because they're fucking transactional, okay? So, no. Men are the ones who ask women to marry them. There's value there, okay? There's value there inherently, all right? Will man accept that his money is our money and my money is only mine? A good man will. A good man won't even make you ask for that. You know, I didn't tell my husband to think that way. He just always thought that way. Meredith Klein says, men with real money want to share and want to be helpful. Exactly. Yeah, and there are more men willing to be useful than you'd expect. There are. Yeah, Firehouse Cycle says, men make more. Until women make more, then the men need to be more fair with everything. Exactly. And good men, once again, good men understand that. Okay, whoever said feminine women have no problem attracting men is wrong, first of all. A lot of men don't like, so once again, I don't really subscribe to like feminine, masculine, whatever. But I do believe those are energies that exist and energies we can lean into, right? So like some days I'm definitely feel like I'm more in my masculine. Some days I feel like I'm more in my feminine, but men actually really hate women that exist in their feminine, because those women, what men really get wrong about feminine women is that feminine women are like there to hold down some kind of fort. Feminine women exist for themselves. That's the building block of femininity. The building block of femininity is self-sufficiency. It is self-indulgence even. It is creative. It is go with the flow. It is I do whatever I want whenever I want. If you want to see a woman in her like talk about being in her feminine energy, there's like a lot of Megan Thee Stallion songs. That's the feminine energy, right? Feminine energy is like, I am priceless. I'm just it. All I need to do is exist, right? And all of us can benefit from that type of energy, even men. Especially men. Especially men. Because men, the first humanity that men reject is within themselves. That's going to be the title of my next live. I just decided this because we need to talk about that. First of all, it reminds men that women don't need them. Second of all, it reminds men that they are living in the matrix. Like it makes it very, very clear to men that they're living in the matrix. Women in their feminine energy challenge men. Women in their feminine energy are not threatened by men. You know what I mean? And yeah, men really don't like that. You have to be like really, really, really like straight and attracted to women to enjoy women in their feminine energy. Most men are not that. So feminine is about being dependent on someone or to be independent. When did I say that feminine was about being dependent on someone? Yeah, weak men hate it as they need to oppress and dominate. Yeah, weak men don't like the freedom of the feminine woman. Okay, a feminine woman is not represented by a trad wife. A trad wife is actually the worst representation of a feminine woman. A trad wife is deeply, deeply, deeply masculine. A trad wife runs on a schedule. A trad wife gets shit done. A trad wife is responsible. She has things to do. She's got places to be. She's got laundry to do. She's got cooking to do. That's an alpha. That's not a feminine woman. Just because she's wearing a dress or whatever, or an apron, that does not make her feminine. Okay, Butcher wears an apron. You are not in your feminine. A woman in her feminine looks like a nymph, a woodland nymph. And the reason that we only have them in fictional form is because men have never, Let us get that far. Oh, and the other actually feminine women, sorry, were witches. And we all know what happened to them. So, yeah, the only reason we have them in mostly fictional form or something that is used as an insult, which both witch and nymph are, is because men cannot handle it. They can't handle it. Can't handle it. They need you to be their peace. You can't be their peace when you're running off to the woods, doing whatever you want, which is what women were meant to do. That's women's natural state. I asked because I thought being feminine was to be laid back and let the man handle everything. No. The femininity has nothing to do with men, okay? A woman's natural state, this is why I'm saying, like, to decenter men as a woman, you are just going back to your nature. Women have everything they need in and of themselves. Being feminine means to be laid back and knowing that the universe will provide for you, not a man. Being feminine means to not live in a lack mentality. Being feminine means to live in an abundance mentality, right? That is like femininity at its core, at its nature. And I think women get into their masculine even when they're in community with other women. Like, I don't think that you should set your sails to feminine and like sail through life. We just don't live in a society that's set up for that, as much as I would love that for all of us. But you can't just set your sails to feminine. We live in a more rigid society than that. Can I give some fictional examples of a feminine woman? Ooh, that's a really good question. There aren't a whole lot of examples of this in media because it's just not, like, that's not what makes money. I don't know, ladies, if y'all can think of some. Lucy Liu from Kill Bill. Yes, absolutely feminine energy. April Ludgate from Parks and Rec. Rob G, you may be onto something. I think so. Medusa, big feminine energy. Salome, look her up. Feminine energy. Yeah, but I'm saying it's rare. It's few and far between. It's hard to think of examples because really, if you really want to stay in your feminine energy, you got to stay away from it. Julie P says, I thought feminine was having certain mannerisms. That's what they want you to think. Being feminine is actually about throwing all that out the window and doing whatever the fuck you want. You know who's really like in their feminine too is like those old ladies that they interview on the streets about men and they say men ain't shit. And they're like, yeah, by the time I got to my 7th husband, I realized I don't need a man. Those are your modern day witches. And we love to see it. The people that are in their feminine also is like rich women who live in like big houses whose husbands died under mysterious circumstances. That's feminine energy to me. Enya, feminine energy. She lives in her castle with her $90 million and her cats. Feminine energy. Does whatever the fuck that woman wants. And she's always done whatever she wants. Feminine, the biggest example of feminine energy is actually Enya because she said, I don't need to use real words to make music. She said, how about that? How about I don't even need to use real words to make music. I just use the sounds that I think people will like. That's the kind of feminine energy I'm talking about. She said, I don't give a fuck about, the status quo. Tracy Ellis Ross. Yes, feminine. Look up her Instagram. That is what every woman should strive to be. And again, I think women's like truest femininity shines through the best when they're also able to implement like some masculinity with it. I think it's best. It's kind of like an infinity symbol for me. It's less these like two energies and it's more like when they come together, you can sort of like make your way around as you please, as like wherever the wind blows kind of thing, But I think that women are creators, like by default. They're very creative. They're very much the source. They're very much the like inspiration for everything. And so, Jennifer makes a really good point about the reason men want you to be their peace. Men do not have their own peace. They want to harness women's peace. Like, they don't have their own assurance is more like it. They don't have their own security. So they want you to be their security blanket. You know, they want you to make them feel like they did a good job anyway. They want that mommy energy, you know? Kiki says they need outside validation. Yeah, that was one of the things we came back to during this live, is like, they definitely need outside validation because that's what they base their worth on, because they don't have inherent worth. And like I said, the title of my next live is going to be Men Deny Their Own Humanity First. That's why they act like animals. The problem is not just that men don't see us as humans, it's that they don't see themselves as humans. And on that note, y'all, I think I gotta hop off. I'm like getting a headache, and yeah, I'm just not keeping up with the questions anymore. But it was so fun to have y'all here. This was probably one of my favorite lives if you were here for most of it. Thank you so much for being here. If you were here at any point, thank you so much for being here. I'm going to edit this. It's going to be a long one, so give me a couple days and I'll post it on YouTube. Thank you once again, and especially to my mods. Thank you, Black Peppa Dreams, if you're still here. Lagoa, I love y'all. Lagoa, I know you're not a mod, but thank you for being here and for contributing. Kara, thank you. Pearl, thank you so much. Thanks for being here. If y'all want to get it up to 100K before I go, that'd be cool, but don't worry about it. We made it? Did we do it? Yay! Thank you so much. Y'all are the best. I think that's the first time I've ever gotten that. So thank you so much. All right. I love y'all. Thank you. Please find this on YouTube. Thank you, Kara. Thanks, Rashida. Thank you, Kiki. Love y'all. Bye-bye.